Welcome to Episode 18, Identification and Authentication, Part 2, Implementation Patterns and Enrollment. The quality of authentication begins long before anyone logs in. It starts with how identities are created, verified, and linked to authenticators. Enrollment is the moment where trust is established, and poor design here echoes through every later control. A secure program designs enrollment with the same rigor as sign-in, building clear steps that confirm identity, issue credentials responsibly, and preserve audit trails. Imagine this process as constructing the foundation of a house. If the base is crooked, nothing above it will align. Good enrollment design balances assurance, usability, and scalability so every new account begins trustworthy and stays that way. Building on that foundation, identity proofing must align to risk. Not every system requires the same depth of verification, but each must ensure that the claimed identity is genuine before granting access. Low-risk services may rely on email verification, while higher-risk systems require government ID validation or in-person checks. The strength of proof should match the consequences of error. A mismatch, weak proofing for high-impact roles, creates lasting vulnerability. Documenting the chosen proofing levels helps reviewers confirm that the organization understands its own risk posture. The goal is not to over-authenticate, but to match effort to exposure, ensuring that trust scales appropriately. Once the flow works, define a coverage policy that includes every user type: employees, contractors, partners, service accounts, and automated systems. Partial enrollment leaves blind spots where weak identities slip through. The policy should specify which authenticators each category uses and who approves them. For example, employees may use hardware keys, while contractors authenticate through a federated identity with limited scope. Comprehensive coverage eliminates ambiguity, ensuring that no role or system operates outside the organization's security boundary. Everyone who touches data must authenticate under the same principles, even if the methods differ. Phishing-resistant authenticators deserve early priority in any rollout. Hardware security keys, passkeys, or device-bound certificates drastically reduce social engineering success rates because credentials never travel in reusable form. They also remove the need to remember or share secrets, improving both security and convenience. Deploy them first for privileged users and then expand to all staff. Pair their introduction with clear guidance on usage and fallback options for accessibility. Phishing-resistant authentication works best when presented as an upgrade to safety and ease, not as an extra burden. Adoption grows fastest when users see immediate benefit. Device binding and key management complete this protection by tying authenticators to specific, trusted hardware. Device binding ensures that only registered and healthy devices can use stored credentials. Key management policies define how keys are issued, rotated, and revoked. For example, if an employee loses a laptop, Revocation should immediately invalidate its bound credentials. Implement inventory tracking for all issued devices and link it to the identity platform so status updates cascade automatically. Device trust keeps authentication grounded in something physical that can be managed, monitored, and replaced when necessary. Federation, using modern open standards, brings order to distributed authentication. Standards like SAML, OAuth 2.0, and OpenID Connect let organizations delegate sign-in to central identity providers while maintaining consistent enforcement. Federation simplifies user management across multiple services, reducing password sprawl and ensuring uniform policy application. It also supports conditional access, enforcing multi-factor or device checks before granting tokens. When configuring Federation, define clear scopes for what information each application receives and avoid overexposing attributes. Federation done right consolidates trust rather than diluting it. Single sign-on, or SSO, extends this principle by allowing users to authenticate once and access multiple systems seamlessly. Mapping roles, scopes, and attributes correctly ensures that each application receives only what it needs to make its own authorization decisions. Good SSO design limits session durations, monitors unusual token activity, and provides clear logout paths that end all sessions, not just one. When built on federated identity, SSO becomes both convenience and control, a single, auditable gateway where authentication policies apply uniformly across the enterprise. Session duration, idle timeout, and re-authentication settings define how long trust remains valid. Short sessions improve security but can frustrate users. Long sessions aid productivity but invite misuse if left unattended. The key is to match timing to context. For standard operations, idle timeouts of 15 to 30 minutes and full re-authentication every 8 hours are typical starting points. High-risk roles may require shorter limits or activity-based checks. Every session parameter should be tested for user impact and adjusted based on observed behavior. The right balance keeps work flowing without leaving open doors behind. Recovery and reset processes must be hardened with the same care as initial enrollment. Attackers often exploit these paths because they bypass normal authentication, require multi-factor verification, secondary approvals, or cryptographic proof of device possession before granting resets. Document each recovery action automatically to preserve evidence. If using help desk involvement, restrict privileges so no single agent can both authenticate and approve a reset. Resilience comes from recognizing that recovery is part of the attack surface, not a side process. Secure recovery is the mark of a mature authentication program. Service account authentication requires equal governance. These non-interactive accounts run background tasks, integrations, or scheduled jobs, yet they often linger with static passwords or outdated certificates. Assign each service account an owner, require key-based or token-based authentication, and rotate credentials automatically. Link them to monitoring systems that alert on misuse or inactivity. Service identities must meet the same authentication standards as human users, perhaps stricter since they act unattended. Treat every service account as a digital employee that needs proofing, lifecycle management, and periodic recertification. Rolling out secure enrollment and authentication across an enterprise demands careful sequencing and clear communication. Start with high-value systems and privileged users, validate lessons learned, then expand in waves. Pair each phase with training, job aids, and help desk readiness. Communicate early and often about what is changing and why. Users accept new safeguards more readily when they understand both the purpose and the timeline. A transparent rollout builds momentum, while rushed or silent changes create resistance. Every successful deployment is part technical project, part culture shift. In closing, enrollment with durable safeguards defines the strength of every identity system. By verifying users appropriately, issuing credentials securely, binding devices, and maintaining rigorous recovery paths, an organization builds trust that lasts. Authentication patterns, when standardized and tested, simplify compliance and make future innovation safer. When enrollment is consistent, verification strong, and communication clear, authentication stops being a friction point and becomes a trusted routine. The result is durable assurance, proof that every identity in the system truly belongs there and will continue to earn that place over time. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.